and welcome to PNP Kids. I'm happy to be with you today. Thank you for joining us. I know you're having so much fun on PNP Kids. There's Father Jason, and there's Presbytera, Destiny, who's doing some things on here now. And we also have our cloud of witnesses. I just hope that you are being edified and you're growing to be strong and beautiful Christians. And please pray for us, because we are trying to do all the things we can to help you on your journey. And so you pray for us that we can journey also towards paradise, okay? I have a little song I want to sing to you, and I'm going to sing it one time through, and it's something that we can sing together, okay? So it goes like this. Pray for me, I'll pray for you, that you be filled with the knowledge of God's will, in all wisdom and spiritual understanding, that we might walk in a way pleasing to God. Now let's sing it together. Pray for me, I'll pray for you, that we be filled with the knowledge of His will, in all wisdom and spiritual understanding, that we might walk in a way pleasing to God. Let's do it one more time faster. Pray for me, I'll pray for you, that you be filled with the knowledge of God's will, in all wisdom and spiritual understanding, that we might walk in a way pleasing to God. So I'm going to pray for you, and you pray for me, okay? And that we can be filled with God's knowledge and walk in a way pleasing to Him. And this book might help us. This is a new book by Mother Melania, and it's called Mimi the Mynah. So let's begin. Mimi the Mynah bird lived near the duck pond. Many thought that she was called Mimi because she only knew how to say one word, me. This was not entirely true, though. Mimi knew two words, me and mine. As far as she was concerned, she didn't need any other words. When all the animals of the duck pond were trying to decide who was the most beautiful, Mimi would say, me. When Cookie, the cockatoo, asked who wanted to try her chocolate chip cookies, Mimi was the first to shout, me. And whenever Mimi saw something she liked, she would say, mine. Are you wondering what Mimi said when it was pond cleanup day? And Major Mallard asked for helpers? Do you think she said me? Well, Mimi just didn't say anything at all. Mimi didn't think she needed anyone or anything. That was because she owned. You know what she owned, don't you? She owned a mine, of course. When she had first seen the mine, she thought she wouldn't have to share it with any other birds, as she might have a tree. She claimed the mine for her own, saying, mine! And she placed a strong lock on the door. As you can imagine, Mimi was not the most popular animal at the duck pond. Grumpy, the grouse, thought Charity was a little crazy to care about Mimi. He complained to Charity about this. Why in the wood you are nice to Mimi, Charity? Grumpy would grouse. She's the most selfish animal I've ever met. She doesn't think that she needs anyone. But Charity would smile and say, oh, I think she does. And you know what else, Grumpy? I think that we need her too. Every animal has some special purpose, you know. Grumpy, someday we'll find out what Mimi's purpose is. One summer, there was a very bad drought. You know what a drought is? It's when there's not a rain for a long time, so everybody's lacking water. Like right now in Southern California, we have tons and tons of rain. So it's not a drought right now, but a few years back we were in a drought, and they were telling us not to use a lot of water because there wasn't enough water. So with so little rain, many of the animals didn't have enough food. So Robbie, the Red Cross Rabbit, was seen a lot that summer, going from house to house asking for helpers. You know who helped out the most? Don't you? I bet you can guess. You're right. It was Charity, of course. She was always bringing fruit or cake or nuts or to drop off at the neighbors' houses. And what about Mimi? Well, Mimi always managed to be somewhere else when Robbie came around. As dry as everything became, there was a growing threat of fire. Fearless went around making sure that everyone was prepared. If you listened to our story last time, it was about Fearless, right? One dry, windy day followed the next. The sun burned down on the brown grass. Leaves curled up at the edges. The animals knew it was just a matter of time before there would be a major fire. In the middle of August, Robbie was going from door to door when he spotted a curl of smoke over the duck pond. Soon that curl of smoke was a major cloud, and he raced to get Fearless. Quick as he could, Fearless got on his fire gear and hurried to the blaze. The fire was spreading. However, it was too big for the fire truck to handle alone. So Fearless and Robbie raced from house to house. All the animals came to help organize a Bucket Brigade. All the animals came, that is, except, you got it, Mimi. Mimi was nowhere to be found. Well, that didn't surprise the pond animals. Hardly anyone cared enough about Mimi to even wonder where she was. They were all too busy bringing heavy buckets from the pond and tossing them onto the crackling fire. But Charity, the church mouse, did care. I wonder if Mimi's okay, she said to Grumpy. Oh, of course she is, said Grumpy. She's probably down in her mine safe from the fire, saying, mine, mine. I'd feel a lot better if I knew for sure, said Charity. I'm going down into Mimi's mine to look for her. Deep down into the mine tunnel, Charity ran. There before her, lying on the floor, was Mimi. She was out cold. Mimi had gone into the mine to get away from the fire, and then smoke from the fire had seeped into the mine, and the air up by Mimi's perch had become hard to breathe. Mimi had passed out. First, Charity tried to wake Mimi up. Mimi, Mimi, she yelled as she shook Mimi's wing. Wake up, we have to get out of here, quick. But Mimi didn't even stir. Quick as she could, Charity scampered back out to the tunnel, gasping for clean air. Luckily, she ran right into Polly, the parrot, and Harry, the hound. They were on their way to the Bucket Brigade. Mimi's passed out, Charity cried. She's down in her mine, and I think she inhaled too much smoke. Please, please, Polly, please. Harry, come, quick, help me. Harry, with Polly on his back, galloped after Charity down into the mine. Down the long tunnel, they stayed low because there was still some clean air near the ground. As soon as they reached Mimi, Polly gave Mimi some smelling salts. Soon she began to stir, and then she opened her eyes. Me? She asked feebly. You, Charity smiled. Charity and Polly helped pull Mimi onto Harry's broad back, and together they all raced back out of the mine. The fire was still burning, and the animals had to work hard to stop the fire. Some were beating the fire back with branches. Others were digging trenches so that the fire couldn't leap across and spread. Still others kept working on the Bucket Brigade. Now even Mimi helped. She carried water in her big long beak and spat it out over the flames until they sizzled down. Little by little, the fire began to die out. As one blaze would go out, they would turn to another blaze. At least they had the fire under control. And finally, the last of the fire was out. The pond was in a very sad state. Most of the animals hadn't had enough to eat, even before the fire, because of the long, dry summer. Now many of them didn't have shelter either. They stood around in silence, staring at the ashes and the cinders that had been their homes. Charity walked over and stood beside Mimi. In a quiet voice, she whispered to Mimi and told her how much the other animals were suffering. At first, Mimi didn't say anything. She thought and thought. She almost seemed to be looking for a new word. Then Mimi began to smile. The other animals were shocked. What was there to smile about? But Mimi had a plan. She beckoned with her wing, asking the other animals to follow her. She said, "Come, come." Over the edge of the pond was a map of the duck pond. Mimi dusted her sooty feathers off, letting go a little puff of ash, and then she pointed to her mine, marked with an X on the map. She smiled at her new friends. "Ours," she said shyly. "Ours." So she wanted to have it to be all of theirs together, and that is the end of the story. She was going to let them come stay in her mine until things got rebuilt. So isn't that a beautiful story that went from Mimi saying mine and me to saying ours and helping others and sharing? So let's try that today. Let's try to be like Mimi and like Charity, who helps others, okay? Have a blessed day, and I can't wait to see you again on PNP Kids.
Patristic Nectar Publications is pleased to announce a new conference entitled The Sacred Arts, Preaching the Gospel Without Words, with lectures given by Father Maximos Constas and Jonathan Pajot. From Friday, March 29th to Sunday, March 31st, conference topics will include the origin of sacred art, how iconography preaches the gospel, how to read an icon, how architecture preaches the gospel, how music preaches the gospel, and a sermon by Father Maximos. We hope you will join us for opportunities to pray, meet our speakers, attend a young adult social hour, and network with like-minded individuals. A $60 registration fee includes an in-person seat, access to a live stream which can be viewed from anywhere, and the conference recordings. To register and find more information, please visit conference.patristicnectar.org.